Dave Willett here, and I'm in Finland at the moment on my 2020 Husqvarna Enduro launch. Tested out all the full range today, a full range of bikes. All the two-strokes, all the four-strokes. So the two-strokes was the 150 and the 250 and 350. Husqvarna have had a full overhaul this year. So all of their bikes, you know, they're seeing new frames, they're seeing more horsepower, you know, got new linkage, new suspension, revised fuel injection, revised sensors. The bikes in general on the full two-stroke range, you know, are really improved. And I was one of the first people to test one of the first generations of the fuel injection, and now we're quite a few generations in, and the bikes seem to be getting better and better, which is obvious. But what really impressed me today was the 150. New to the range, the 150 was one of those bikes where it was just, you could really rev the bike, you know, and you could really get it to you know, you could really get it on the pipe and really sing it, and it still did everything that it wanted to do. You know, like to going up rock faces, to flat out through the trees, and the bike really did just did sing. And the bottom end and the drive, or the way that the fuel injection works, it just fuels the bike right at the bottom end, so it allows you just still to pull a higher gear, and the torque and the drive is really good. Next up from that, the 250. 250 was probably my second favourite out of the range. Normally I'm a fan of the 300, but this time I wasn't a fan of the 300. And it's not to say that I didn't like the bike, because I do like the bike. It's just that, you know, for me, the 150 and the 250 topped it. And that's just because of the rev factor. So them engines just allowed me to rev the bike a little bit harder, what I wanted to do, and still add more than enough torque. The bikes were just fun, and because they were a little bit more harder revving, they seem to be also a little bit more free rolling, a little bit easier, felt a little bit lighter with the engine inertia, and it was just the bikes they're the bikes that I liked. What you do feel is that you feel that the bike has got more stability, the bike feels more balanced across the board. It feels a little bit lower, you know, it's like 10 mil lower, and they've got different linkage which sits in the bikes a little bit lower as well, and that's all in aid to just basically to get the power to the ground more, and just to provide you with more drive coming out of the turns, down the straights, up the rock faces, you know, in them tricky sections, and it just makes your life a lot easier. Just to touch base on the four-stroke range, there's the best sellers like the 350, you know, because that is a bike that just basically ticks the boxes for a wide range of people. The bike handles really well, the way that the power is delivered to the ground is perfect. The 250, you know, it's a powerhouse for an enduro bike. It's certainly not slow, and if you can ride that to its full ability, then you're definitely on track, you know, for some good results. That's for certain. The way that the bike's handled right across the range was really good. The 250, 350, you know, they are very similar together. Obviously, the 350's got more power and more drive, and the power-wise is obviously a little bit closer to the 450 than it is the 250. That's what I feel. The 450 in itself, it makes your life so much easier. You just can switch up into third and ride the bike through the trees, through the woods, no problem. The amount of drive that the four strokes produce now, you know, it's just incredible. It's so easy to ride, and yeah, the 501 was the biggest surprise for me. That bike loves, you know, big wide open sections, and you know, that it favours them big wide open byways, but actually coming through the trees, it was really good, and the way that you could manoeuvre on the bike again, for it being such a big bike, was really impressive. And there was no stalling issues whatsoever. You know, it didn't feel clumpy. It just ran smooth all the way through. So that was a big thumbs up. But my favourite was probably the 450 today, and the reason being is that the bike just had so much drive, and it was just so easy to ride. Just coming up some of the tricky rock sections, straight into second, and job was a good one. So yeah, 450 for me today, definitely on the enduro range. The enduro scene at the moment, you know, it's thriving, and it is growing. The market's growing hugely, and that's because of the 300 and the 250. You know, those bikes are really excelling in the enduro world, and people just can't seem to get enough of those bikes. They're so user-friendly at the moment, you know, especially with the fuel injection. Fuel injection has managed to meet the needs for most riders. So, you know, for them people that used to get on a two-stroke before and used to think that they're a little bit too savage, or they couldn't quite handle them or ride them in the correct power range, you know, since the introduction of the fuel injection, that seems to have gone. And the reason being is that the bike just fuels so well and so efficiently that all it does is just provide maximum torque, maximum drive, allows you to ride higher gears. You know, even on the 150 or the 300, you're riding high gears, and you can just the bike will chug through, and you haven't got to worry about it stopping or stalling. They're just real pleasure to ride, and most people are, you know, they're opting for that, and especially with the amount of sensors and the way that the bike now can calibrate itself. And like I said before, you know, I'd rode the first fuel injection bike, and it was impressive, but you know, they've come a long way since then. I'm really happy with today, and really happy, you know, with the amount of bikes that I've ridden, and I just couldn't get enough of it. It's just been an epic day. Thanks.